Welcome to everyone for the Northern Asian Power Mission for our Food and Drink Masterclass, which will be taking place for an hour just now. At the outset, let me thank Sharon Jandu for all that she has done and is doing for UK-India relations. It's been a privilege to work with you and your team, and we've achieved so much over the years. Thank you to the partners for this whole event. The Confederation of British Industry, of which I'm proud to be president, to the Confederation of Indian Industry, the CII, our sister organization, whose UK offices are based within our head office in Cannon Street in London. That's how closely we work together. The Department for International Trade, the Food and Drink Federation, Squire, Patton, Boggs, and the UK-India Business Council, of which I'm proud to be the founding chair. So I'm just going to make a couple of remarks to kick things off, and then we will have our speakers who will be speaking for 5 minutes each. And when it comes to the end of the 5 minutes, I will politely remind the speakers to wind up their remarks and move on to the next speaker. So we've got a great situation now where UK-India relations, I refer to this as the watershed moment 2021, when we're going to move into a new era of UK-India relations. We've got a huge opportunity. We've got a prime ministerial visit coming up very soon, where we will be taking things to the next level. We've got an enhanced trade partnership where we want to increase the level of trade from £24 billion a year in goods and services bilaterally to quadruple that to 100 billion by 2030, which would make it equivalent to China, and make it equivalent almost to the CPTPP Pacific trading bloc that we're going to be joining. And when it comes to food and drink, I of course speak with wearing my own business hat, Cobra Beer, where we have started in India and then moved our production to the UK and Europe, and continue to produce in the UK and Europe. And for 11 years, I've had a joint venture in India with 3 breweries with my joint venture partners, Molson Coors, in the north and northeast. And in 2018, the UK and India have announced an agreement giving the UK lamb industry access to the Indian market. The recent budget has introduced a lower tariff with an additional agricultural cess that may phase out in a few years, and the lower basic tariff raises some hope for Scotch whisky manufacturers in the UK for the future. The most important thing is the Indian budget, which was on the 1st of February. Today is our UK budget, Indian budget. There were no tax increases because they said the businesses suffered enough and they didn't want to stifle the recovery. Let's hope our Chancellor has listened to that, and we will wait to see what he has to say later today. So with that, I will move on to our first speaker. Our first speaker is Ian Wright, Chief Executive of the Food and Drink Federation. Ian, over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Karen, and good morning to everybody. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm under very strict instructions to only speak for 5 minutes, and indeed I'm going to try and speak for even fewer than 5 minutes to give Karen absolute discretion on other people. It's a great privilege to be here. You may wonder what the Food and Drink Federation has to offer in this context, so my brief remarks are going to address that point. Food and Drink Federation is the largest trade association representative body in the food and drink sector. We cover all parts of the food and drink world, and we are, I think, the most well supported in the sense that we have 900 plus members running across all the sectors of the industry. We represent what is the largest manufacturing industry in the UK. It's bigger, not widely known, but bigger than aerospace, aviation and automotive combined in terms of its value and its impact on the British economy. We employ 500,000 people over the country. We are in every parliamentary constituency. There's a food and drink manufacturing plant with more than 50 people in every single parliamentary constituency in the country. It's evenly spread across the country. It's not like automotive with big conglomerations of businesses and parts of the supply chain very close to big centres like Liverpool and Derby and Sunderland. The food and drink industry is everywhere. Its importance has been very significantly demonstrated during the lockdown in the UK by the fact that we've been producing at 150% normal production to keep the nation fed. It offers some fantastic opportunities for Indian businesses and brilliant opportunities going abroad. And I've spent many happy days in the last 6 years in this job. I've led 3 trade missions to India, and those missions taking UK exporters to India have proved extremely successful. So those who are thinking about doing business in India should think very hard and very constructively, because it offers one of the most exciting opportunities for UK exporters anywhere in the world. The emerging middle class, in fact, the emerged middle class in India, is one of the most powerful consumer units that there is on the planet. And it has an insatiable demand for high-end and good quality products, particularly in the FMCG sector. So I'm very, very keen that we pursue these opportunities as the world reopens. And the FDF, which offers both advocacy and advisory services, so we probably have more trade experts than any other representative body. We will be there to help you over the time during which you begin to consider doing business with India, whether it's exports to India or imports into the UK. Karen, I'll stop there and hand back to you and look forward to answering questions later.
Ian, thank you very much for that. And there's some really important points there. And you're fully engaged with India. There's a lot of help out there for British businesses who want to do business with India. And yours is a perfect example. And of course, including our wonderful High Commission in India, which is one of our largest diplomatic posts in the world, literally in the world. We have such a huge presence in India. Our High Commission in Delhi, as well as our Deputy High Commissions around the country, from Chandigarh to Mumbai to Chennai to Hyderabad to Bangalore, they're all there to help out and help British businesses, along with wonderful trade associations like the FDF. Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you for what you're doing. If I may now move on to Hannah Kendrick, who's a partner and head of food and drink at Squire, Patton, Boggs.
For those of you who don't know about Squire, Patton, Boggs, we are a global law firm, and we work with a variety of clients trading all over the world, and delighted to be involved with the CBI, CII, Department of Trade, UK India Business Council and the FDF on events such as this. Obviously a trade completely close to my heart is the food and drink sector. So really fascinated to hear what everybody's got to say here today. And I suppose from our point of view as lawyers, what we would hope to do is support people, whichever way they're trading, businesses, whichever way they're looking, inwards, outwards, really making sure that right from those fundamental setup steps, you're getting things right and you've got the right support. So whether it be from incorporating your first legal entity in a jurisdiction right through to some of the finding the right distributor, right through to sort of more complex contracting arrangements, transactions, our aim would always be to be sort of one of the team of advisors that you pick up the phone to, bounce ideas off, make sure that you're getting those sort of firm foundations for sort of new business. And we would hope to be able to offer a good set of market knowledge. We've got over 50 lawyers around the world who are sort of dedicated to our India business support advisory function. So, hopefully, I can't promise to have all the answers myself, but I'm sure somebody in the team does or knows somebody who will. So, I'm fascinated to hear some of the case studies that we're going to hear today, and delighted to be involved in these kind of trade missions. So thank you very much for allowing us to participate, and looking forward to a bit later to a chat with Ian from the FDF, some sort of hopefully top tips and good thoughts. So thanks very much, Lord Bilimoria.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hannah. And I think it's really important that the help that you can go to as a business, High Commission, trade associations like the FDF, but also your lawyers. And although foreign lawyers are not allowed to practice in India and open up their practices, almost all the leading firms have tie-ups with Indian firms and also have partners who fly into India regularly. So they're a great source of help to businesses wanting to do business in India, and yours is a great example. So thank you so much, Hannah. From accountants to lawyers, and from lawyers to accountants. I declare my interest, as I would say, in the House of Lords as a qualified chartered accountant. I qualified with Ernst & Young, with EY, and I declare my interest that Cobra Beer our auditors are PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. So the next speaker, Joel Smith, a partner of PwC. So Joel, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and a very kind introduction to both me and to the firm. So yeah, I'm Joel Smith. I'm a partner within PwC, and just to echo my thank you for inviting me to join your session today. A quick introduction to me and to the firm. So I'm based in our Leeds office, which aligns to the northern side of this. I'm a partner in our deals practice, but I also lead our northern and regional consumer markets teams in the UK, which cover both retail and consumer sectors. So PwC, as Lord Bilimoria kindly said, we're a relatively large organisation. We operate in over 150 countries around the world and have nearly 300,000 people. So we're very proud to say we are one of the largest professional service networks in the world. And I think to echo what Hannah said, it won't necessarily be me or one of my colleagues who knows the answer, but we can always find you somebody. That's probably our mantra. We'll find you the right person in the right place who has the right expertise. What do? We help organizations and individuals create value across 4 lines of service: audit, as Lord Bilimoria has mentioned, consulting, tax, and deals. And deals is where I have to declare my interest. I'm a partner within our deals practice. So I help clients work on mergers and acquisitions. Over the last 12 months, with the impact of COVID, and I'm sure that will be a topic we touched on shortly today, we've refocused our strategy in helping clients in what we call a deals-led recovery, focusing on both UK and international deals and really trying to find what those hot sectors and hot opportunities are. From a personal level, I've worked on many deals within the food space, helping owners, shareholders, businesses to buy, sell, refinance, or IPO businesses within the space. Across the spectrum, be it from food growers and producers, through producers and distributors, all the way up to grocers and retailers, from the really small in terms of private business and on entrepreneurial businesses, all the way up to some of those kind of landmark listings. I hope that's a helpful introduction. Thank you again for inviting me to join you today, and I look forward to hearing more from the speakers and how we can work more collaboratively together.
Joe, thank you very much. And I can speak from personal experience of how useful it is to engage with your accountants to help you in India. All the major firms, like PwC, have a major presence in India, staffed entirely by Indian chartered accountants and consultants, and they're very well connected. They can make introductions, including to suppliers, to customers. They can help produce reports, as can the British High Commission give you market entry reports as well. You know, and I mean, it's whether it's PwC, whether it's Grant Thornton, and many of them have an head of India partner based in the UK who takes responsibility for liaising with the Indian business. So you can make contact. I'm sure, Joel, you have somebody in PwC, I can't remember, I used to liaise with them regularly, who would be the head for India, that is also, I'm sure, go-to person as well. So
absolutely,
huge resource there that I would urge all businesses to make use of, and a great network. So thank you very much, Joel. Thank you. If we now move on to Shubhi Mishra, who's a consultant in the UK India Business Council, Food and Drink Advocacy Group and Trade Promotion. And as I said earlier, I'm the founding chairman of the UK India Business Council, which I set up in 2007. It's one of my proudest achievements. And I was just at a meeting with the Lord Mayor of London before joining you now. And Jerry Grimston, Lord Grimston, my colleague in the House of Lords, was also speaking at the event. And I recall the first UK-India Investment Summit that I chaired with Prime Ministers Tony Blair and Manmohan Singh in Lancaster House in 2006, just before founding the UK-India Business Council. So Shubhi, over to you.
To Dr. Lord Bilimoria. By way of introduction, my name is Shubhi Mishra, and I work as head for food and drink sector for UK-India Business Council. Some of you would have heard from my senior colleague, Kevin McCall, previously. We are an organization pledged to work in UK-India corridor and aim to help UK trade and investment grow in India. We also help the Indian businesses that have presence or want a presence in the UK. The Food and Drink Division of the UK-India Business Council works on similar objectives, and we work with companies of all sizes, from SMEs to MNCs. UK-IBC is also business partner of Department of International Trade from April of 2018, since when UK-IBC has taken over the responsibility for the food and drink sector strategies and its day-to-day activities from DIT. We promote UK's food and drink sector in India and also create awareness about the Indian F&D sector opportunities in the UK. As most of you will know, that India is a rapidly growing market for international food and drink products with growth drivers like favorable demography, growing disposable income, urbanization, retail growth, etc., etc. Nonetheless, it is important to note that it remains a difficult market to navigate through with high tariffs, regulatory environment, and competition from foreign and domestic suppliers. In the middle of all this, we as UK IBC are committed to handhold brands find way into the Indian market. Also, with global pandemic and following nationwide lockdown, we have seen huge impact on the local demand for international food and drink products, and that the consumer focus has shifted more towards healthy and mindful eating. So we as an organization keep close watch on changing trends like these and leave no stone unturned to educate the UK businesses about the same. This brings me to the point that how valuable it is for us to associate with programs like these, Northern Asian Power Mission, as they help build us awareness of the excellence of UK as a whole and precisely to the north. And I also see this as a learning opportunity for all of us, where we can get to learn more about the diverse range of product profile and translate these into our interactions on similar lines with the Indian stakeholders. Long story short, if you think of India, we are right here, and all you have to do is just give us a shout. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shubhi. And you made so many important points there about what a growing market India is in overall terms, and going back to a point made by Ian about the middle class in India. That middle class, the numbers are estimated to be approaching 500 million. I mean, it's huge. If we think about that, that's bigger than population of the European Union, including the UK. It was 500 million strong. So it's a massive, massive market with a huge growing, the demography, the demographics you spoke about, the disposable income. But as you mentioned, there are challenges dealing in India. There are regulatory issues, there are tariff issues. I mean, the import duties on items like Scotch whisky are so huge. So you do need the help, and that's where organizations like the UK India Business Council, who are on the ground in India, can help out. And I believe the new chief executive is actually based in India, not in London. So use the UK India Business Council and their services. They work very closely, as Shubhi said, with the government as well, with the British government and with the Indian government. So that's another resource for businesses wanting to do business in India. So thank you very much. Lakshmi from the CII, heads the CII in the UK. As I mentioned, the Confederation of Indian Industry is a sister organization of the Confederation of British Industry. And I've worked very, very closely with CII going back to 2003 when I was appointed as the co-chair of the Indo-British Partnership and thereafter as chair of the UK India Business Council and now as president of the CBI. So Lakshmi, welcome and over to you.
Thank you, Lord Bilimoria, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Daniela, for prompting. It's a special privilege to be in this, gathering today for various reasons. Some of which, obviously, my previous speakers have counted. Typically, when an Indian company comes to the UK, they have, it's usually London is equal to UK. And for the last few years, very consciously, we've tried to change that. And it's been an effort to not just limit our attention to London, but to look at other regions around the UK, because as the growth of the UK markets is in its regions, similarly, the growth of India is also in its various regions. If you were to concentrate yourselves to just Delhi or Mumbai, then, we wouldn't grow as an economy at all. So I'm delighted to be part of this Northern Asian Power Mission. Very, very well done to Sharon for her leadership and sort of vision, and for all the support that everybody's provided her. Lord Bilimoria, you're no stranger to CII nor to myself. It's been a great journey knowing you and to watch you, from afar and from nearby now. As Lord Bilimoria said, CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, we're actually celebrating our 40th year in the UK, and gives me great pleasure to say that since our presence in the UK, we have been co-located with the CBI. There's a great friendship and a great partnership that we share. I have Shubhi here. Hi, Shubhi. It's lovely to see you. We work very closely on the joint working group and on various sort of, sectoral, on the food and drink sector team to make sure that there are no barriers in trade and commerce. So that's where I will actually begin. So it's great to have trade missions and it's great to have that interaction. And I'm delighted that we will be able to highlight not just opportunities across India. And we have Dr. Tyagi here who's joined us from Haldiram. It will be great to hear such case studies, are success stories for us, and we take great pride in that. But also to look at what are the barriers in trade, what are the barriers limiting us from expanding our presence and footprint. So whilst Shubhi and I sort out that angle with our colleagues and make sure that the long list of trade barriers is slowly eased out, all of your support, in making sure the right introductions are made, the right guidance is provided, the right business matches happen, is going to be something that we expect as an outcome of today's deliberations. And over the next, couple of days, we of course have other sectors being discussed as well. Food and drink is important. Eating is very important, as we know. Eating healthy is even more important, as we all have learned in the last year. India has a great experience in very, very holistic, good foods. The superfoods of India are not even properly introduced into the UK. So we at CI really hope that, via our various companies, of which there are 850 Indian companies in the UK. And we recently, as part of our CII Grant Thornton, Britain Meets India tracker, the first one, and Lord Bilimoria was, of course, very much there as part of the launch. There are 572 UK companies in India. So we see that there is a great scope of increased, presence of companies from India into UK and from UK into India. So between Shubhi and I, we kind of do the double act of making sure that that happens. UK IBC have been a very, very good, strong partner in delivering that. The Northern Powerhouse team have been fantastic in their support. The DIT team, Daniela, you have been incredible, tirelessly working. So anything that we can do in terms of helping increase the footprint of Indian companies in the UK and UK companies into India, supporting via our verticals who are specialists. We have a center of excellence in India, which is FACE, which is a Food and Agriculture Center of Excellence. We provide a lot of policy advocacy, and we make sure that the right guidance and the right direction, is provided as guided by industry. We are an industry membership body, just like the CBI. We have around 300,000 members, Indian companies and associations in India. So it's a great family. It's a big, large family. CII turned 125 last year. This year is 126th year. So good experience in delivering the nation-building story for India, as well as the countries that we have expanded into. And UK has been one of our oldest office, and I am normally based out of London, right now enjoying the warm sunshine of Delhi. And I'll pause there. I know we have many case studies and we have good discussions and deliberation, but I'll be here to support anybody, any questions that people might have on India, either India or UK. Thank you, Lord Bilimoria.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lakshmi. Thank you for all that you do to promote UK-India trade and business both ways. And the 40th anniversary in the UK, CII 126th year. The CBI, by the way, is less than half, is only 60 years old. And I'm proud to be the first Indian origin president of the CBI, and matter of great pride. And of course, my counterpart, Uday Kotak, president of the CII, and my great friend, the Director General Chandrit Banerjee, who we work very, very closely with. And the trade barriers you mentioned are there. So we've got to work at this. And we're making progress. Look at the insurance. The limit was 49%. Now it's increased to 74%. We need to keep working at this. And the Grant Thornton Britain Meets India tracker is a great initiative started 7 years ago, looking at Indian companies in the UK. This time it's looked at UK companies in India. Wow. The average growth rate of the UK companies in India on that tracker is 26%. There's some of the companies in there who've grown at over 100% a year with the backdrop what we've had over the last year. It's quite amazing. The liberalization in India started in 1991. It really picked up in 2000, and it is now really accelerating. And after the pandemic, I think we will see phenomenal growth rates in India over the next few years. Big opportunity. Thank you very much, Lakshmi. We now move on. Stephen Lombard is International Trade Advisor, Food and Drink Sector, Yorkshire and Humber. Please, an overview of the Northern Powerhouse Food and Drink Centre. Thank you.
Good morning to everybody. Right. Department for International Trade, probably the government's best kept secret until something happened on the 1st of January, and now we're in the press and working everywhere. So that's our brief from the government, as you will see what we have to do. We are here to help UK businesses export, and this opportunity for India is creating a great deal of interest within us here at DIT. We have offices across India, and the Northern Powerhouse has its teams in Manchester, in Yorkshire, and in Newcastle, and we work very closely. We have, of course, something close to Karen's heart, hosted the Indian Brewers delegation here to Yorkshire and Humber. I took them around our breweries 2 years ago at the Leeds International Beer Festival, and then out for a wonderful curry and cobra at Agra in Leeds, which was the highlight of the event, as we all know. But now back to business. Now, this is the interesting one. This shows the top 10 export win markets. As an export win is where the government has achieved an export into those countries. Now, you will see India is number 7 in the top 10. Now, our job is to get that into the top 3 so that we go above the likes of France, who we love, Russia, Canada. Take us into number 3 in the world, and that will be on where there's been a tangible export, a financial benefit to that company to export. Will be quite a bit of work to get India into the top 3. And this is the latest information I could get from my team in London on the actual total trade between the UK and India. Now, this is UK and India, not Northern Powerhouse. But if you take out the fact that the manufacturing base of the United Kingdom is the Northern Powerhouse in food and drink, you see that a large part of our trade is here. Lots of barriers, I agree. Those barriers are to be overcome. And it is our job collectively to ensure we bring those barriers down and we multiply this trade as best as we can for the benefit of everybody concerned. This is the Northern Powerhouse, and it shows the size of our region as such up here with my colleagues in the Northwest and Northeast. So it's 15.5 million people here with a GDP of 411 billion. Now, we exported 57 billion from the Northern Powerhouse in 2019. These are the latest confirmed figures. I understand that's increased by 7.4%. So we'll be up to the figures that we need to do, increasing that on an annual basis to make sure that section of trade comes to our Indian colleagues. This is the interesting one. This is what we call the export win sectors. This is the manufactured in the powerhouse that has been exported out of this region. Consumer and retail, this is in no particular order. Consumer and retail was food and drink was the 3rd largest exports from Yorkshire and that goes across Northern Powerhouse as well. So what we see here is we have a vast already. We have a great in India, and together we ensure that these figures and these sectors are increased dramatically over the next 3 to 4 year period as we make India and the UK a major trading increase. My job is to help you and to open as many doors as possible. Thank you very much. From Stephen Noblett, Department for International Trade.
Stephen, thank you very much. Really, really great overview. And just very quickly, Liz Truss, who's the Secretary of State for the DIT, her ministers, Lord Grimston, Rani Jayawardena, work closely with all of them. They've done a fantastic job rolling over 60 bilateral trade agreements that the EU had with countries from Japan to Canada. A phenomenal job rolling those agreements over. Hats off to a new department that has done fantastically well. Inward investment, by the way, if it's promoting exports, but we also want inward investment into the UK. We're the 2nd largest recipient of inward investment in the world. And what an attractive area the Northern Powerhouse is, with coming up to almost 25% of the population, where the GDP is concerned, huge, over 20% of the GDP of the country, 20 universities, the ports. It's a great opportunity for Indians to invest in the UK, in the Northern Powerhouse region, as well as exporting as well, and to get India as a top 3 export market for the UK and for the Northern Powerhouse. So Dr. Tyagi, Executive Director of Haldiram, which anyone who's been to India, any Indian will know, the household name of snacks that everyone loves. So over to you, Dr. Tyagi.
Thank you so much. By introduction, myself, Dr. A.K. Tyagi, Executive Director, Haldiram Group. Haldiram is first of all, I'm thankful to CII UK, CII India, and International Trade for providing the opportunity to be present here in a wonderful gathering. If we concern our company, Haldiram, we have started Haldiram in 1941. especially from India, a very small town. Later on, we entered to the Pan India, and in around 1991, we have entered to the UK and USA market. Haldiram is a Indian global brand. We are making various type of the Indian product, and currently we are making all type of the traditional snack. In India, we call it namkeen. And we are also making the frozen breads. We are also making the frozen paratha, frozen curry, and also exporting ready to eat to the UK and other country market. Our major export come from UK and USA and followed by European country. So our focus on the UK market. If we come to the investment in the UK, so I think before 3 years, we have started a state-of-the-art factory in UK, especially in London. That is the South Hall. And we have done an investment of approximately 7.2 million pounds in London, in South Hall market, to make a state-of-the-art factory to make Indian sweets. For example, rasgulla, gulab jamun, milk cake, and other type of the sweets. And other products just like a traditional snack, frozen curry, frozen breads, frozen paratha, ready to eat. We are exporting from India to UK market. So this is all about Haldiram. Haldiram is exporting to nearly 80 countries, in which we cover entire Europe, UK market, USA market, Canadian market, Mexican, all major countries we cover. It is one of the most preferred brand of Indian people and now liked by the UK people also, because whatever sweet we are making, so this is becoming the popular for the UK market and UK citizen also. If we concern to the trade barrier or whatever help we require from the international trade or UK Commission, so we have some of the issues. I think we will be able to address these issues, so we can double our export to the UK. The issues are very simple. India cannot export any milk and milk product to UK market. I think this topic is in continued discussion with the Indian government and UK government from last so many years. But as on today, we can export our Indian sweet or Indian product to US market and other country, but we cannot export to the UK market. So this is one of the issue for not for Haldiram, for every country, every industry of India. Second issue we have the high import duty. If we take the benefit of GPS certificate, so after applying the GPS certificate, the duty on the traditional snack is around 12.3%. Then duty on the frozen bread is about 12 to 15%. Similarly, duty on frozen curry is 15%, and duty on frozen snack is 15 to 22%. So it makes the Indian product not price competitive in the UK market. So hence, I request the Commission to think over that and consider it. We will rationalize the duty. So definitely the Indian product will be available in more quantity in the UK market. Second issue we have just like a aflatoxin. The limit of UK for aflatoxin, especially for nuts, because as you know, India is one of the big manufacturer of the nuts, but we are unable to export the nuts to the UK market. However, we are exporting nuts to the USA market. The main difference here is that the aflatoxin limit, total aflatoxin limit in the UK market is 4 ppb per kg maximum. However, this limit, total aflatoxin limit in the USA market is around 15 ppb per kg. So we request to the Trade Commission to consider at least 10 ppb per kg of the product, and the aflatoxin in the nuts is considered, still it will be lower than the US market. One thing I compliment to the UK and compliment to the UK Trade Commission, that we have started our state-of-the-art factory in UK from the last 3 years, and we do not have any issue to run our factory in the UK. So I am thankful to the UK government. I am thankful to all the Association and Trade Commission for helping the Haldiram to start very smoothly factory in the UK and marketing product in the UK market, which we manufacture itself in the UK, especially in the London. Or we are very happy to put a 7.2 billion pounds investment in UK factory, in London factory, to make the Indian food and to market in the UK market.
Thank you, Dr.
So much.
Tyagi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And please, if I could request perhaps Stephen Noblet from the DIT to take note of these points that Dr. Tyagi has raised about the tariffs. Of course, if we have an enhanced trade partnership agreement with India, hopefully issues like this will be addressed, including the export of milk. Of course, India has a famous Amul milk cooperative that is so huge and world-renowned. And if we can export these things from India to the United States, and then this aflatoxin limit for the nuts, if you've got the US benchmarking as well, I hope there are ways in which we can clear all this in the future. And with your investment, Dr. Tyagi, I hope you can invest in the Northern Powerhouse region as well and set up another factory in the north.
Yeah, definitely. Currently, we have started. You are right. Currently, we have started the Indian sweet, but later on, we will start the Indian snack also. And in the future, we have a plan to start the frozen food also.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much again to Dr. Tyagi and Haldiram. Okay, so is there have you noticed any questions? Does anyone like to ask a question? Can they be unmuted? And if you introduce yourselves, and then I will try and get one of the panel to answer the question. So is there anyone who'd like to say something?
Hear me? So this is Arif Ahmad from PwC in Leeds. And I also head up our UK India business group. So, well connected through to our Indian firm, which has offices throughout the country. And I'm also a director of the UK India Business Council, so an organisation, Lord Bilimoria, that you know well. So happy to help any organisations who are UK organisations who are looking to grow in India, and also Indian organisations that are looking to grow in the UK. I can be that connector through to our Indian firm. So yeah, please do get in touch if you would like to discuss anything.
Thank you very much, Arif, and I would encourage all of you to take advantage of that offer. And I just want to reinforce something that we've got Satnam coming up next. But just before I bring you on, Satnam, that Stephen mentioned curry and a cobra at Agra. I mean, Agra is the biggest chain of curry restaurants in the country, bigger than anyone else. And it is remarkable what it's achieved. It's Aslam and his team, it's wonderful. It's a great restaurant group we're so proud of, and a great success. And of course, if you look at it this way, Indian food and drink in the UK is huge. There are thousands, over 7,000 Indian restaurants. If you take takeaways included, over 12,000 Indian curry restaurants in the UK. And it's a huge multi-billion pound, employing over 100,000 people, a phenomenal industry that without their support, Cobra Beer, we're always grateful for it. So we must also talk about the Indian diaspora as well in the UK, 1.5 million strong. We're doing such a fantastic job contributing to the UK economy and being a living bridge between the UK and India. So yes, Satnam, if you could come on board, please. Thank you, Arif and Satnam.
Thank you, Lord Bilimoria, and what a fantastic event. Pleased to be part of it. Just before I start talking about setting up in Bradford, I just want to say that whenever I'm in Delhi, one of my first ports of call is Haldiram, and enjoy the wonderful food that they have in Delhi. Absolutely marvelous. I think last time I went into the one on South Extension, and it was a fantastic tribute to the group in the way that the staff acted and responded to customer requests. And of course, the food was absolutely delicious. It's one of the highlights of going to India.
Thank you, sir. It is our pleasure.
Yeah, well, we would love to see a Haldiram in Bradford or in the Northern Powerhouse. It would be wonderful. In fact, we would love to see Haldiram in each of the cities, the great northern cities.
Haldiram policy is very clear. We treat customer as a god. Always we will try to delight the customer. So we will go beyond the customer satisfaction, and we work on the quality, consistency, the quality and hygiene in such a way so that our customers should be delighted. Thank you so much, and thank you for compliment.
I'm a vegetarian, and it's one of the places that I really look forward to going, that I know that I'm not going to be faced with, meat choices, but delicious vegetarian meals. So my name is Satnam Kela, and I work for the Bradford Metropolitan District Council, and we welcome inward investment into the Bradford district, and Bradford is part of the Northern Powerhouse. It's a multiculturally diverse community. I think we have something like 120 different languages spoken. The population across the district is just over 500,000. And we've got some fantastic food manufacturing businesses, along with engineering, automotive, chemicals, etc. Morrison's is headquartered in Bradford, and they have a large food manufacturing base there. So if there is anybody out there looking to set up in Bradford or have a partnership with other food manufacturers in Bradford, then we would be there on hand to assist with whatever your requirements are. I've put my details in the chat, so if anybody wants to contact me, please feel free to drop me a line, and I'll be more than happy to provide all the necessary information that's required. Thank you, Lord Bilimoria.
Satnam, thank you so much, and thank you for what you do. And Bradford, of course, a city that I love visiting, and one of my colleagues in the House of Lords, we joined on the same day 14 and a half years ago, Lord Patel of Bradford.
Lord Patel.
He has Bradford in his title. So
he does, yeah. He's Lord Patel of Bradford, yeah.
A good friend, and of course he was on the cricket board as well, the England cricket board for a while. A great cricket fan like me. And Dr. Tyagi, of course, the customer being king is so important. Any of us with brands, that is really, really crucial to us. And of course, Morrison's is a big customer of Cobra's, so a very valued customer of Cobra's and a successful supermarket chain. Thank you so much. And Shubhi, you wanted to come in and say some more about the UK India Business Council.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lord Bilimoria. So I just wanted to re-emphasize on which some of you might be aware of, that UK IBC has partnered to Department of International Trade. We offer complimentary assistance to the UK companies which are willing to enter into Indian market. And that assistance does not mean only market introduction. We also assist companies in them to understand the regulatory compliance environment, about the market access issues, about the trade barriers, if your product has access into Indian market or not, and several others. We understand that every company is different, and so are your products. So with that, I just wanted to highlight on this particular fact, because several times we have seen, especially with the small and medium companies, that they shy away from reaching out, considering that they are small in the game. So whether who can they reach out, and what kind of value impact will it have on them? So this is one of the facilities which you can avail. We are very much happy to help you with that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shubhi. And I think that's very important, the point you made about SMEs. And of course, in India, we don't have the term SME. In India, the term is MSME, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises.
And medium enterprises. Yes.
And I can say that with Cobra Beer, when I started with my partner Arjun Reddy from Hyderabad, like me, there were just two of us. So we were a micro business. So I've gone through all the phases of being a micro, and then a small, and then a medium, and then I've got a joint venture for over 11 years with one of the largest brewers in the world, with Molson Coors.
Yeah.
So, that micro part is very important. And to help SMEs engage with India is so important. That's why this event we've got, if SMEs could listen to everything that is available to them, if you can energize, SMEs are the engine of growth of any country, of any economy. If we can harness the SMEs in the Northern Powerhouse region to go and do business with India, and it's so easy now. Once this pandemic is over, it will be over soon. India's already, I believe, opened up a lot. The sad deaths are now down to about 100 a day in India. Hopefully this wretched pandemic will be over. We need to take people across, and that's why it's so important that we heard the Food and Drink Federation taking delegations to India. We need to get our businesses, because seeing is believing. When you go to India and you see the opportunity, it's phenomenal. So we've got to encourage that. and UKIBC is there and ready to help and host.
And you are such a successful case study for people to see and replicate from. And this is exactly what we want everyone to look up to and take a note from.
Thank you so much, Shubhi. Thank you for what you're doing. And give my best wishes to everyone at the UKIBC.
We do have one question that's coming, which I think actually would wrap all of this up quite nicely.
We always have a challenge of getting people past Watford Gap, and I'm really pleased that we've got a room full that have managed to get that vaccination and get past the borders, and even more so when we got Lord Bilimoria leading that launch. My question is one of two really. One is in terms of communication, even across the northern UK, we need to improve, because we have settled here and we are now here like first, second, third generation. And what divided us is now bringing us together. And what we find is that in our imagination or our vision of India is somewhat 30, 40 years out of date. And the events like this really do close that gap in terms of seeing India as a massive powerhouse. In the north, we came from very much immigrants, economic immigrants, and seeing that change and tasting that is great. But we have second, third generation here, businesses who are wait and keen to go back and do business. So it's that type of encouragement. And my other thing is, what do we need to be doing in terms of sending messages across as the Northern Powerhouse to businesses in India to stop thinking of London-centric? And I don't know about yourselves, but every time I go to India, and as somebody who was born and brought up here, so I'm probably guilty as anybody else, we go there and they ask, the first question they ask is, are you from London? And I say, yes. And then they ask, are you from proper London? So, and then I have to put my hand up and then admit I'm from near Manchester or Bolton or Bradford or whatever. And I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice. We sell down the north. And I just wondered if Lord Barrymore has any views on that, or perhaps other members of your panel.
Thank you so much.
I'd just like to say, Gurunji, that Bipin is absolutely spot on. So Bipin, I'm Sharon Jandu, and one of the organisers of this week-long session of masterclasses, and absolutely putting the Northern Powerhouse and the assets of the North to India is absolutely at the foremost of our agenda. So we need to do that together. So rather than saying that, you know, we're in Leeds or Bolton or Lancashire near London, we need to really promote the assets of the North. And actually, one of the things that we've learned from this conference, we're not very good at doing that. And that's not just the Asian or the Indian diaspora. That is actually the North itself. We're not very good at talking up the North, which is why bringing on people like Gurunji and the people that we had at the inaugural panel on Monday, which was a full house, really helps us, and they're doing everything that they can. So over to you, Gurunji.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And Bipin, thanks for making that really, really important point. And, you know, the government has what they call the levelling up agenda. And the levelling up agenda is all about spreading prosperity throughout the United Kingdom, including the North. And let's not go any further. You talk about first, second, third generation Indians and Asians in the UK now. Well, look at our Chancellor. He's now giving the budget speech. Our Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, is a second generation, born in the UK, and now he is the second most powerful person in the country. And he's 40 years old. I mean, I think it's remarkable. And he's done a phenomenal job over the last year with the help that we've given Business, almost £300 billion worth of help and support. And I'm sure he will be reaffirming that support going forward as we open up our economy into this summer. And around the cabinet table, look at the number of British Indians that are there. Alok Sharma, so many others that we, you know, that I mean, I could name just around the cabinet table, let alone Priti Patel and Mandan. I mean, and holding great offices of state. So I think it's very important that we encourage our first, the second, third generation Asians and Indians to really look at the opportunity of India. And by the way, I love practicing what I preach. Cobra beer, when we first started, and I imported the first container of Cobra beer from Bangalore 30 years ago, half the container stayed in London, half the container went to Newcastle. So Newcastle was the first place, along with London, where Cobra beer was sold. So to me, the North was very important from day one, and it is very important to me throughout the history of my brand. which I'm very proud of. So it's been a privilege to chair the session. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge Rupinder Oberoy's presence here, and you've been a partner in this initiative. Thank you for your support. Sharon, once again, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do for all of us. And we've had Ian Wright from the Food and Drink Federation. What a fantastic start. Hannah from Squire, Patton, Boggs. We've had Joel Smith from PwC, Shubhi Mishra from the UK IBC, Lakshmi from the CII, and we had Stephen Oblet with a great presentation for DIT, which is fantastic, the opportunity that we have. And then we had Dr. Tyagi giving that excellent case study on Haldiram. What a great product and a great example of UK-India potential in exports, as well as investing in manufacturing here in the UK. So I think that's so good. We've had a great Q&A. Thank you, Arif. Thank you, Satnam. Thank you, Shubhi, again for your comments. And again, thank you now to Bipin for your final comments as well. Thank you. This has been a great session. Huge potential both ways. I'm very optimistic. The Prime Minister is going to be out in India soon, and I think that'll be a kick-starting, as I say, 2021 is a watershed year for a new era of an Indo-British partnership. So thank you so much, and all the very best to all of you for attending as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord Bilimoria, for all your support. Thank you. Okay, so we're on to our next part of our food and drink masterclass. The next part of the session we will have now 2 roundtables. The first roundtable will be a conversation between Hannah Kendrick and Ian Wright from the Food and Drink Federation. That will take place for roughly about half an hour. The second roundtable will all be about where are the opportunities, where are those niche areas that UK and India can trade, whether around agritech or whether around plant-based foods. There's lots happening within the food sector and new trends coming through all the time. So for the first roundtable, I will hand over now to Hannah Kendrick from Squire, Patton, Boggs. Hannah, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Daniela, and really interesting session to start off this morning. No, so we've been given the sort of the subject, Ian, to have a chat about sort of the challenges and opportunities of trading between the UK and India for sort of global food businesses. And I know, I mean, obviously Squire, Patton, Boggs and the FDF have done a lot of work together, and sort of from a remit of businesses that go from the sort of the smaller end right through to sort of the global players. And I know that you yourself have got a vast amount of experience on both sides, both steering FDF members and working with them, and obviously on the inside of global food and drink businesses. So I think the idea of this session, obviously, we'll have a bit of a chat through, look at some of what you see are the challenges and the opportunities, and then perhaps throw it open for people to raise any questions, which I know Daniela's kindly going to curate for us, and see if we can use this opportunities essentially to pick your brains, Ian, I think, on what you think are those opportunities. So I don't know, do you want to give us a little bit of your experience, dealing with India, or do you want to go straight into those opportunities?
I've probably been covering India for big businesses, particularly for Diageo, where I spent a lot of time I spent 15 years between 2000, from 2000 onwards. And I mean, it's quite an instructive story, very briefly, because India had always, Diageo, world's largest drinks business, owns Johnnie Walker, Guinness, Smirnoff. And in 2000, Diageo was probably seen more as an international business, particularly a business with a huge portfolio of products in Europe and in the US. And we had aspirations as to be a global player. And over the succeeding 15 years, I think we established ourselves as a global player, but it did take quite a lot of time. And so inevitably, there were periods when the focus of we had a business in India run by my good friend Ravi Rajakapoor, who went on to be one of our most senior finance directors. And then, interestingly, to manage the acquisition program we went on after 2008. So one of the great advantages of doing business in food and drink, and in particular in beverage alcohol, is that you have enormous access to cash, because clearly it's a business where you basically, or almost always, pay on the nose for the product. So you have a huge, in these sorts of businesses, actually, I suspect that running, although I wouldn't claim to be an expert, but it seems to me that the way of guaranteeing your long-term business future, particularly in food and drink, is to make sure you've got a lot of cash and to grow market share. And as long as you do that reasonably responsibly and don't grow too fast and grow in the right places, it's a pretty straightforward recipe for continued success. Of course, it's much harder than that, really. But anyway, but we grew our business in the States. We had a business in India, which was a relatively low level, selling very high-end spirits, which, as you know, attract huge duties across India and very different duties in individual states. But we maintained a presence, and Johnnie Walker was hugely popular in India right from the start of Diageo. Diageo only formed in 1997, and Walker itself is a brand which has been around since 1806, when John Walker, a grocer in Kilmarnock in the west of Scotland, started distilling his own scotch, and then subsequently bought a distillery from a woman, a distillery called Cardew, which has gone on to be a very famous single malt. And a woman called Elizabeth Cummins actually sold him the distillery, and the family of Elizabeth Cummins still receives a case or several cases of whiskey as part of the settlement in which that purchase was concluded over 150, nearly 200 years ago. So an extraordinary lengthy contract that. Anyway, we continued to sell Walker, but we always saw the Indian opportunity as hugely important to the future of the business. And the two opportunities, there were really two. One was mass market Indian whiskey, and the other was Scotch itself, high-end Scotch. And that's why I made that reference right at the start of my remarks to the emerged Indian middle class, because it was clear to us that the population of India en masse was not going to have the disposable income to buy Johnnie Walker tomorrow morning. But the vast numbers of people within the population certainly did, and they aspired to Walker. And the barrier, as I said, to Walker was, as a major proposition, has usually been the external tariff that is imposed on whiskey in defence of Indian whiskey. And we always, over that 15 years, had a view that we should have, if I can put it this way, a ladder of products that appealed to the mass market, and Indian whiskey, Bagpiper and so on, those sorts of brands would be very successful, and that we could lead people through that, up that ladder to Johnnie Walker at the top. And over time, we hoped to deal with the tariff issues in India. And that basic strategy is still being worked out, is still being played out. And in 2012, we had as I say, we went on an acquisition spree after the financial crash in 2008. I think we bought 11 companies in 3 years, 11 big companies in 3 years in places as diverse as Brazil, Russia, China, and crucially, we were able to acquire Vijay Mallya's spirits business, United Spirits, in India. Now, I mean, Vijay is a colourful and controversial character about whom it is probably best not to speak too much on this call, because no doubt almost anything one says about Vijay is subject to some kind of legal interpretation. In fact, Vijay makes Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond look like a relatively low-level tea party, and no doubt could deal with both of them. But the point about buying Vijay's business was that it gave us that portfolio of products that could lead the consumer, the shopper, through to Scotch. The reason I tell that story is it took 15 years. So it was not a short-term bet. We knew what we wanted. We had to assemble the parts of what we wanted, and Diageo still doesn't have the whole thing in place. because we still haven't cracked the EU or now the UK-India free trade agreement, which would have unlocked the opportunity for Scotch. And incidentally, the scale of the opportunity is such that had we managed to do the deal as we nearly did in 2000 and I think 2009, the amount of Scotch consumed in India within 3 years would probably have been something like 11 million cases. Now, the reason that that's important is that there isn't enough Scotch in India. There isn't enough Scotch made in Scotland to have supplied that demand and the rest of the global demand. So there are only two ways that that could have been resolved. One would have been that we make more Scotch, and the other would have been that the price would go up and Diageo's profits would go up. And of course, what would have happened is a version of both. Now, that free trade deal wasn't done, but Indian Scotch sales are gradually rising. I know the Scotch Whisky Association will be very keen on that. So as an example of a long-term, long-burn strategy, I think it's really important. The second thing to make the point about that is that although Diageo is now a big global company, it is actually a product that cannot be made, to the point made earlier, it cannot be made, as it were, in London. It is a regional product with regional provenance that absolutely has to be based in Scotland. And I think that although it's not directly applicable to the Northern Powerhouse, I think it's really important to understand that you do not need a London-centric approach to deliver that kind of long-term growth, even at the global scale. So far less at the lower scale. And I can give you another fantastic example before I shut up, which is on a recent trade mission, my last trade mission. As I said, I've led 3 to India over the last 4 or 5 years, and I was supposed to go in February and obviously, March, and obviously couldn't go last year, but looking forward to going very soon. I took with me a colleague from Green King, the brewer in Bury St Edmunds. Now, Green King have managed to make some significant sales, I think, and certainly at that mission did make some significant sales in, we were in Mumbai, and in the Greater Mumbai area managed to establish some interesting opportunities. But alongside that was the most extraordinary thought that Green King's two best known products are Abbott Ale and IPA. IPA standing for India Pale Ale. And the opportunity exists there for Green King to make India Pale Ale in India. And that kind of opportunity is so exciting for UK businesses. I think the possibilities of made in India, using Indian ingredients, or at least partially using Indian ingredients, and establishing manufacturing of well-known brands with great provenance in India is fantastic. And that's what I see as the big opportunity going that way. Coming this way, you've got a fantastic, and we've already heard about it, the extraordinary number of people of Indian origin in the UK market, all of whom have great affection for many different kinds of products and who offer an equally exciting market to that big emerged Indian middle class. Sorry, that's probably enough from me.
No, that's great, and it really brings it all, the opportunities to life. I mean, you touched there, Ian, on sort of the the emerging, the emerged middle class and the opportunity, and I think Lord Bilimoria in our earlier session talked about it being a new era. From the sort of the FDF's point of view, what are you seeing in terms of appetite to look to the Indian markets, and how are you supporting businesses? And I guess, have you got any sort of you've talked about Diageo, but any sort of interesting case studies or mentions that of people that have made it work well?
Well, I think the interesting thing from the point of view of the vast majority of food and drink businesses in the UK are SMEs, as we heard earlier. So of the there are about 8,500, according to the Office of National Statistics, there are about 8,500 businesses, food businesses in the UK. Of those, about 90% are businesses with fewer than 50 people and turning over less than £10 million. And I suspect that actually, if you really probe those figures, about a really big chunk of that group would be under 30 people and under £5 million. So they're aspirant businesses. And one of the challenges for those businesses is that trying to go too far, too fast abroad is a huge endeavor. So, you know, there are, I don't know if this expression means anything, but it's always amused me. You know, I remember talking to one of my members who is a business of about 3 million, who has worked in India and done well in Indian sales in a rather specialist area over the last 20 years. And he said, I said, how do you do it? He said, well, I go out there with my Davy Crockett hat on and just go out and prospect and knock on doors. And he said, you know, it's the same as doing business in the UK, except the techniques are the same. You just have to get the numbers up. You have to knock on a lot of doors. You have to do your research, but then you have to convince people of the product. Once you've done that, you get the same opportunities with customer loyalty, and great products work wherever you try and sell them. But for a business, that's okay if you're a business with a large number of staff and you are prospecting in an area that you know well. Obviously, it's much more difficult if you are in a second country or a third country and you're on your own. And I think that's where we can help. So we can offer quite a lot of advice on, and in fact, there's an array of people on this call and in today's sessions who have enormous understanding of the UK market and the Indian market. So we can help Indian entrepreneurs coming to the UK. We've probably got the largest group of trade specialists and science specialists and food safety and labeling and packaging experts on how to hit the UK market anywhere. We're by far probably the best equipped to do that. But I think it's important to, in the context of UK-India business, to just stop and understand what has happened in the last couple of months. So the UK has finally, after such a prolonged period that it's almost teeth grinding, left the EU, both left the EU a year ago, 13 months ago, but has also left the transition period. So we're no longer yoked to the EU in the way that we were before. And that means that the UK regulatory market is under the control of the Food Standards Agency. It means that the UK can impose its own tariffs, it can do its own trade deals, and that it has much more control in the famous it has literally taken back control. There are still some issues with Northern Ireland, which for practical purposes remains within the EU. But the UK, Great Britain, England, Scotland, and Wales are a big opportunity for Indian entrepreneurs looking to do business. And I think we will see the UK trying to pursue much, and DIT, we heard from Stephen Noblet, and I can say, I think with some certainty that the UK is going to extend its interest in all Asian markets, but in particular in India, in very quick order. And I think you will see DIT staff up in Delhi and in Mumbai. Yesterday's publication of the Trade and Agriculture Commission report, which hasn't got a lot of coverage, but is very important because it sets out the way in which food and drink in UK trade is to be managed, or should be managed, by the DIT. We wait to see if the DIT accepts the recommendations. But in the DIT press release, number one was the creation of a new export promotion body, which is something that I've been involved in now for the last 6 years at the FDF. We've been calling for it for a long time. We now have the support of the Trade and Agriculture Commission, the government's own advisory body. We also have the support of the Food and Drink Sector Council, which is the government's advisory body for food and drink policy. It's not unhelpful that I chair that as well, but anyway. But so I think there will be the establishment of a body that we might describe as UK food and drink abroad. So there's an equivalent body called Board Beer in Ireland, people will be familiar, which does great work on market access, on analysis, and on promotion. But it's mainly a market analysis, market support operation. And I think we will see that established in the UK, for at least for Great Britain, over the net, and incidentally a big push on English food as opposed to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, which have their own budgets because they have their own devolved administrations. I think we'll see a big push on all of that over the next few months, and I think that's quite an exciting opportunity. Now, the important point, which I'll just finish with, Anna, is that it's really important that we dovetail those initiatives together with everything else we've heard, because there is little point in us duplicating the work of the UK India Business Council or the CII or any of the other groups that are involved. And it's really important that whoever gets to lead that new food and drink export council, if we call it that, has a very clear view that it needs to accommodate all the players. And that isn't just the sort of semi-statutory bodies like the UK India Business Council and CII and CBI and ourselves, FDF. It's also people like you with Squire, Patton, Boggs, other advisors. We've seen PwC on the call. We need to ensure that actually the role of that body becomes the role of the conductor, with an orchestra of public and private and partner sector groups and partnership groups, not trying to do the whole thing themselves. Because if we do it as a kind of collaborative effort, we will get far more from the sum of the parts of all those playing. And the opportunity in India is in India and for India businesses in the UK is just too good to miss.
That's great. Thank you. And I think we've got a couple of questions coming in, but just want to sort of before we get to those from me, just looking at in terms of looking the other way, in your experience with sort of businesses you've worked with, have you seen lots of or any trends in what's appealing to Indian investors or acquirers? Because we've had a question come in about, you know, how to coordinate interest in investment and acquisition by Indian business into the UK food and drink sector. I don't know if there's been any trends that you've seen emerging or any sort of types of business that are of interest to investors.
Well, I mean, arguably the biggest investment by Indian, at least people of Indian origin, is Asda. I mean, those two guys have bought Asda in spectacular fashion, and I know, and I'm not supposed, I don't think I should say, but I know that they are also looking at a series of other businesses in the same sector, both in related sectors anyway. And you know, they have seen a big opportunity there. And what is also interesting is that there's an enormous, almost an extraordinary amount of leverage possible with these sorts of agreements. And I think although the Asda deal involves numbers, eye-watering numbers, with far too many noughts for people like me to really understand, that leverage is possible at much lower scale across the food chain, because food and drink businesses, although they can be quite low margin, I think one of the things that we've proved, that the lockdown has proved both in India and in the UK, is that they stay open. Now, one of the things that, I mean, I have to say, on the day that the lockdown, on the 23rd of March, or in fact, on the 17th of March last year, when we at the FDF decided that we should suggest people went home and work from home, the two things I would never have believed possible were, one, that people could work from home in the way that we're doing now, and the other was that pubs and cafes and food to go was discretionary. It would never have occurred to me that you could actually have a year when all of these outlets were closed in one way or another. But food supply, food manufacturing and food retail through supermarkets and convenience stores has gone on at extraordinary levels. I mean, at one point up to 400% of normal production. So great were the sales of UK food at one point that John Lewis, the much admired retailer of the middle classes, where they buy everything that they can for their houses, for those who don't know it, John Lewis ran out of freezers. Literally, the UK had no freezers for sale because the UK middle classes were buying so much food. Now, I think that proves that food and drink manufacturing and production and importing is a massively important business. It's strategically important. It's part of what they call key national infrastructure. Government supports it keeping going. All of the 500,000 people who work for my members are key workers, so they're allowed to continue to work. They're allowed to continue to go to work. So if I was an investor in looking for a safe bet as well as a good bet, I would invest in UK food and drink. And I think the Asda deal proves that. I think we've seen other Indian entrepreneurs acquire smaller brands. We've actually seen other entrepreneurs from outside the EU and outside the UK, which are the traditional sources of investment into UK food and drink, by other brands as well. And I think it's a really exciting marketplace right now.
That's great. Thank you. And Stephen Noblet's actually just replied as well, suggesting that obviously this is, when we're looking at that sort of inward investment, that's something that the DIT inward investment team can help with. So I'm sure if anybody sort of wants any help facilitating meetings or connecting the right people, Stephen's a good person to contact, as well as yourself, Ian. Thank you. So we've just got a couple of minutes left. So a question that's coming in, something close to your heart. So Bipin Patel mentions, says, Ian, you've had an amazing journey and shared a really useful insight. Do you feel there's a market for micro IPA brewers? I'm guessing in India.
Yes, definitely.
Which is your favourite whiskey other than Black Label, which appears to be the default for the Indian palate? So we've only got a few minutes left, so we can't go through the full list.
I can be very brief because I don't drink whiskey. For various reasons, I've never had the taste for Scotch, which always was extraordinarily difficult at Diageo because you were treated like a pariah. It was just not acceptable not to love Scotch. Actually, I also didn't drink Guinness very much, so I was really, twice damned. But I'm a huge lover of IPA. I'm a huge lover of Cobra, actually. And I've known Karen, I think probably certainly nearly 20 years. And at one point, interestingly, Diageo might have gone with Diageo instead of Molson Coors, and that would have been great fun to work with him. My favourite, I don't have a favourite Scotch, but I do have a favourite gin, which I think is equally popular in India, and I'm a huge admirer of both Tanqueray and Sipsmiths, so that would be what I'd be doing. But I think there is a massive market for spirits and for beers like IPA, for palatable beers across India, and I think they are very good investments. But I think you can think about either brewing in India or moving to India. I think long term, the environmental considerations will stop people moving bottles of drink. You'll have to either move it in bulk, or you'll have to move, as Diageo has always done with Guinness. Guinness has always been assembled in the marketplace, a bit like Coca-Cola. You take the essence of the beer with you and you use local ingredients to complete it. And I think that the COP26 pressures that we're going to see dominate the second half of this year will be so significant over time that you will be required almost by the consumer, particularly by the responsible consumer, to make in the market. And that, frankly, is a fantastic opportunity for Indian business.
I think what a great note to finish on, because obviously our next session around agri-tech and plant-based foods, I mean, the environmental issues very much at the forefront, as you say, of bottled drinks, but it's going to be relevant to any sort of any food and drink product and any product. So that's really helpful. I think we're sort of out of time, sadly, but it just sort of remains me to say thank you very much, Ian, as ever. Very insightful and some real sort of food for thought to sort of coin a phrase. And thank you. And if there are any questions when we've had a chance to go back through the Q&A box that we haven't answered, obviously we'll pick up with people directly. But Daniela, I think back to you to pick up on our next session.
Just again, thank you, Ian. Thank you, Hannah, for taking that session for us. That was really helpful. And I'm going to hand over now to our Northern Asian Power Mission Project Director, Sharon Jandu. Without Sharon, none of this would be possible. She's worked absolutely tirelessly to bring us all together. So it's been my pleasure to work alongside you, Sharon. So as we've heard, you know, the food and drink sector, it just keeps pivoting, it keeps changing, it keeps evolving. There's some huge opportunities coming up in relation to the changes that in Agritech and the way that plant-based foods are really sort of transforming the way that consumers purchase their food stuff. So I'm going to hand over to you, Sharon, now to take us through a couple of presentations that we've got on those topics and introduce some speakers to support you with that. So thank you, Sharon, over to you.
Thank you, Daniela. And everything that you say in terms of leading on this project, it couldn't have been done without yourself and the other project partners. Absolutely delighted to chair the next session, which is all around what are the opportunities. So we're looking at Agritech and we're looking at the plant-based foods. So our first speaker, and actually I would like Stephen Noblet, if he is around, to be available too, because I do know that this is one of your areas of expertise. So our first speaker is Moulay. And the last time I spoke to Louis, he was telling me about the exhibition that he did in Chandigarh in Punjab. And Chandigarh is one of my favourite places. So I was really jealous. So Louis, without further ado, if we can go over to you, and would you like to make your presentation now, please?
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here today. My name is Luis Mulet. I'm the Agritech Sector Development Specialist. I'm working as a consultant for the Department of International Trade. My role is to develop a new export strategy for the companies in the Northern Powerhouse to help them to export all their agricultural technologies. Well, as you know, it's not a secret, the world population is expected to rise from 7 to 9 billion by 2050. That means 2 billion more people. The World Health Organization estimates that 1/3 of the world is well-fed, another third is underfed, and 1/3 is starving. So by 2050, that number could be much larger when the world population reach 9 billion people. Also, as you can see, the world driest region in the world, that's Northern Africa and the Middle East, are expected to increase the number of population, and that bring a lot of issues with food security. So long story short, what will be the solution on food security? Well, we need to produce more food, but better quality food with less resources. That means less land, less energy, less water. And while we do that, we have to reduce also the food waste and do it in an environmentally friendly way. So what will be the solution for the food security? In my opinion, the only solution is applying agricultural technologies. Agritech is the key to feed and fueling the planet. But what is Agritech? Well, agricultural technology, or so-called Agritech, aims to make the food production process as efficient as possible, but does not stop at the growing of food. Agritech is the application of technology to produce more with less, to make the farming process more efficient, from field monitoring to the food supply chain itself. So Agritech is divided into 4 main subsectors. Those are called plant science, animal science, precision agriculture, and aquaculture. Also, Agritech is divided into 3 main general trends. The first one is the one that I call technologies that produce differently using new techniques. For example, we have hydroponics, feedstock, desert agriculture, seawater farming, and bioplastics. The second one will be technologies that bring food production to consumers while increasing the efficiencies in the food chain. For example, we have vertical or the so-called urban farming, genetic modification, culture meats, and 3D printing applying to agriculture. And lastly, we have what I call technologies and applications that are cross-industry. Just to name a few that are very popular in Agritech, we have drone technology, the Internet of Things, data analytics, precision agriculture, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, very, very popular nowadays, food sharing and crowd farming, blockchain, and of course, we have robotics. Now to talk a little bit about the UK Agritech. According to the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills, the Agritech sector contributes with 14 billion pounds to the UK economy, and the sector employs around 542,000 people. And the Agritech sector contributes with 13.6 billion pounds to the UK exports. In the other hand, UK agriculture employs about 450,000 people. And the UK agriculture contributes with about 9 billion pounds to the UK economy and is helping the UK 26 billion food and drink manufacturing sector. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the UK Agritech strategy. Back in 2013, I was part of the team of specialists that developed the new UK Agritech strategy. This strategy boasts 3 specific strengths, and these are just to ensure that these elements work together to enhance the UK world leading position. Those are: UK has a world-class science, a progressive food and farming supply chain, and a dynamic business environment. I'm more than happy to share with you a copy of the strategy. I will leave my contact details in the chat, and I'm happy to send you a copy of the UK strategy so you can read it in more detail. So the UK government is working with science-based food and farming industry. So the UK can become a world leader in agricultural technology, innovation, and sustainability. Exploit opportunities to develop and adopt new and existing technologies, products, and services to increase productivity, and thereby contribute to the global food security and international development by ensuring safe, healthy, nutritious food that is affordable and accessible to all. That's what it's all about, the new Agritech strategy. Now I want to share with you some statistics. So I have worked some numbers using what is called the CAGR. That means compound annual growth rate. And I did it between the year 2019 and 2027. And as you can see, the Asia and Pacific region is expected to have an increase of 13.3%. And the second place will be with North America, 12.2%. So now talking about the Agritech market by geography, North America was the largest revenue contributor in 2019 with 38.6%, followed by Asian and Pacific region with 26.7%. And by 2027, North America will be exactly the same, about 38%, but Asian and Pacific will increase to 29%. Now talking about the Agritech market by application, we can see that production and maintenance application held the largest market share in 2019 with 38%, followed by irrigation equipment with 24%. Now talking about the Agritech market by type, we can see that biotechnology and biochemical segment held the largest market share in 2019 with 32%, followed by big data and analytics with 26%. Now talking a little bit about the statistic in the Agritech sector, the Agritech market in the UK was valued, as you can see, at 612 million US dollars in 2019, and is projected to reach 1,463 million US dollars by 27. The Agritech market for biotechnology and biochemical segment was worth 200 million US dollars in 2019, and is projected to reach about 473 million US dollars in 2027. So these are, I will say, the best prospect markets where the UK can offer to India and to the world. Now talking about the Agritech market by application, the Agritech market for the production and maintenance segment was worth 236 million US dollar in 2019, and is expected to increase to 613 million US dollars on 2027. Now I just want to talk very briefly about how looks the Agritech market in the Asian and Pacific Agritech sector. And as you can see, the market was valued at 4,657 million US dollars in 2019, and is projected to be to reach 12,000 million US dollars by 2027. And right here you can see the effect of coronavirus, COVID-19. So it's expected that by 2024, 2025, we will be reaching the same levels as we were back in 2019. Now talking about countries, China led the Agritech market in the Asian and Pacific region in 2019 with a market share of 37.5%, and is expected to continue having this first place, forecasting at 41.7% by 2027. And India has 8.7%, so it won't change too much in the same period. Now I just want to talk very briefly about the statistics in India. Actually, I have a lot of information and numbers. I'm more than happy to share more specific statistics with you later, but because the timing, I cannot talk too much right now. But the Agritech market in India was worth as 377 million US dollars in 2019, and is projected to reach 1,000 million US dollars by 2027. Now talking about subsectors in Agritech in India, the Agritech market for biotechnology and biochemical segment was worth 106 million US dollars in 2019, and is expected to double to 289 million US dollar on 2027. So actually here in the UK, we see these subsectors as the potential market where we have more opportunities to do business with India. And the Agritech market for the production and maintenance segment was worth 146 million in 2019, and is expected to almost triple to 2027 to reach 440 million US dollars. Well, I invite you to learn more why the UK is driving the global agri-tech solution. So if you have any question, please feel happy to contact me at any time.
Thank you, Louis. And if that doesn't get everybody interested and excited about trade with India, I really don't know what will. And the other point that you made around the slides and making the information available, there is going to be very, very detailed follow-up to everybody who has registered for all the events, actually, not just this masterclass, but every single event. So the videos will be made available, and also the slides will be made available. I'd like to go on to our next guest, who you have heard speak, but I'd like her to go into a little bit more detail, if I may. Shubhi ji, if you could unmute yourself and if you could address the audience, please, I would be most grateful.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Yes, India is an agrarian economy where agriculture and allied sector play an imperative part, as it contributes approximately 16% to the total GDP of the country and provides employment to 50% plus of the population. India is world's second largest producer after China and is expected to become the first in coming years. Certainly, none of them can be achieved without assistance of technological development, digitalization, and others. Being a key economic driver, the sector needs to adapt to the challenges that it is facing today. For example, the food processing sector in India is in critical need of growth, and though currently it is backed by numerous supportive schemes by Government of India, which help facilitate crop diversification and production innovation. However, the sector is yet to reach its full potential, and it is bothered by issues like increased consumption of fresh produce, lack of farm gate infrastructure, limited skilled laborers. And when we talk about lack of farm gate infrastructure, that we clearly see as a point of intervention where the UK Agritech companies can benefit by offering technological advancement of, or in short, of offering that they have invented the wheel. They can offer the expertise with the Indian segment. And Indian companies, by and large, have always expressed willingness to adapt to new technological innovation and benefit from them. Also, recent introduction of agriculture infrastructure and development cess through the India's union budget in the month of February. It is a clear reflection of India's willingness to grow in the agricultural and allied sector. From there, I will switch gears to the plant-based products. The plant-based food market in India is growing like never before. So COVID, what it did to all of us, it just introduced us food in certain phases. During the initial phases of lockdown, all of us were, for probably that was true globally, I can say with confidence for Indian market, is that all of us were consuming food and it became a part of our social structure because everyone was socializing within families. There was more in-house consumption. Everyone was cooking together. But eventually, when the second phase of lockdown came in, then the reality seeped in. We all started to realize that this is here to stay. That was the time when all of us were gaining weight. Then came the third phase where we started getting more concerned about healthful eating. What changes can we do in our dietary patterns to stay more fit and also to gain better immunity? On the sidelines, started coming communications which were about veganism of the free range of products, gluten-free, organic, vegan products. So all this churning has given a significant push to the veganism and brought to the fore some clear food trends for incoming time. The list of new plant-based products like kombucha, plant-based milk, meatless meat, nutritional yeast, etc. are now making way into the Indian shopping basket. A number of Indian celebrities are seen supporting these new trends, which is a clear reflection of the fact that we are evolving towards these new product lines, and also However, what I'll say is that this growth is being noticed, but from a very small base. And on top of this, there are certainly some regulatory issues too, which are emerging for the segments. For example, recent introduction of the draft labeling requirement stating that term milk will not be permitted to be used on products which are derived from plants. So nomenclature for products like almond milk, pistachio milk, etc., will be required to a change in their trading name. So it can be an almond drink, but it cannot be called an almond milk. So while on one hand, we are seeing those positive trends coming in, we are also seeing that regulators are getting up and getting more stringent about the claims you are making to the consumers and are advising the businesses to be more assertive in terms of the claims and declaration they offer to their consumer base. So all these changing trends, changing dynamics are emerging together. And I'll take liberty, Sharon, just to add on that these trends are not limited. Or we are seeing demands coming in beyond plant-based products as well. So I'll just take 2 minutes to add that bit as well. So health category, convenience food items, high-value food products, and most importantly, that Indian consumers perceive goods coming from UK as high quality. There is not only an aspiration level attached to it now that consumers are getting more aware of the entire food safety concept, especially COVID has imbibed that into us more stringently. So that is where UK businesses can find a broader confidence base with the Indian partners and Indian consumers as well. So those are the new trends which are coming in market. And apart from that, we always emphasize on the fact that every product, every company, and every brand is unique. Do reach out to us if you believe that you have a query about Indian market. And if you want to deep dive and to understand that how can you be placed into the Indian diaspora, we'll be happy to help you with that. So that's from me, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhi. That was excellent. Just before I check with Daniela if there are any questions in the chat, I'd like to direct a question that I have, and we seem to get it quite often. And I'd like to ask Louis first, and then the same question to Shubhi. Louis, I mean, we've talked about the opportunities. Basically, what is the biggest challenge? And how can the DIT help?
There is a big challenge regarding well, as you know, the pound is very strong currency, and India is a very sensitive price market. So I would say that's one of the main issues, no, that we have is we will need a finance. We need finance for farmers in order to purchase all these great technologies that we have to offer. So if we can find a way that we can finance all these technologies for the producers and farmers, I think that's the number one challenge that we
just to add on to that question, and before you answer how you can help, how the DIT can help, is that what are the biggest mistakes that people make when they try to enter India?
Well, India is a big market. I always say that India is not a country, it's a whole continent. And it's not the same thing to do business in the south or in the north. You really need to get in contact with the British Embassy in India, because we have offices all around the country. And we have colleagues that have a lot of expertise and a great network of contacts in each region in India, and they are more than happy to guide you and introduce you with the correct partners that you are looking for.
Wonderful, thank you, Louis. And the same two questions to you, Shubhi. Firstly, what would you say is the biggest challenge? I mean, you've talked about the opportunities, but what is the biggest challenge?
I suggest to the companies that please don't sell India to India, because many a time it happens is that Indian flavors like chutneys and pickles are offered to India by UK companies. That is somewhere where which where you know the entire access to you introduce the company to the Indian stakeholders, and you can never match the price. Let's be honest about it. So that is something which I always suggest, and I always like Louis suggested that it's always advisable to reach out to the market, rely on us. We are here. Saying it in the most brutal manner, I'm getting paid to help you. So please give us a shout. We are here, and don't get lost. And also don't perceive India as China. India is a market where you need to have patience, perseverance, start small. Grow with India's story. Don't expect your container loads coming in day one. It takes time. India is a relationship-based market. And as Louis rightly said, is that India is not a country. It's a very diverse country. So rely on us in finding those alliances. And even if you are already present in Indian market, don't shy away from reaching out to us if you have any query about regulations. And like any other country, at several points, we see multi-level governance in India. And if you are able to, if you're finding it difficult to navigate yourself, so these kind of problems do come in, Sharon. And what we see as a big challenge is that many a times companies, they just give up because they don't find the right person to handhold them. And that takes away the confidence from the India market from them. I'm not saying that tomorrow you'll be the largest supplier to Indian market, but grow slow with them. I have success stories like that of an American company by name of American Garden, which started with few cartons, and today they are literally sending container loads of their goods into India. But it took them about 14 years to reach there. So that's where I see that challenges are, and this is where we see that we can offer assistance in.
Stephen, you mentioned, so bringing in Stephen from DIT, final words, to help businesses to think about India as a market in terms of food and drink.
A wide range of opportunities there to contact us if you're thinking of that market, to look if we can look for any grants. There are grants out there. If you're a qualifying SME, it helps you with market research, IP advice in India, translation services, marketing visits, and to employ consultants. We can match fund 50% of it.
Wonderful. And so there's no excuse now for businesses and SMEs to think about India as a market. And also there are equal opportunities for Indian businesses to think about the Northern Powerhouse.
It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Daniela, to you and to Squire, Patton, Boggs. It's been an absolutely outstanding masterclass. We could have actually, thinking about it, could have had a session on Lord Bilimoria and his experiences, and that would have been phenomenal. I think that's one for next time. But actually, the speakers, every single speaker has been outstanding. I'd like to thank again Squire, Patton, Boggs. I'd like to thank the CBI. I'd like to thank Lord Bilimoria, the CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, DIT for their support, UK India Business Council, thank you Shubhi ji, Food and Drink Federation, and I wish you all, and it's still morning, I wish you all a good morning. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you all.